Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Region of Waterloo Arts Fund's Spring 2023 webinar. My name is Susan Scott, and I co-chair the Arts Fund along with Lindsay Golds, whom you'll meet in a moment. But first, we want to open this hour by acknowledging that we are on the Haldimand Tract, land that was promised to the Six Nations and was traditionally used by the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Neutral peoples. We are grateful to have the opportunity to live, work, create, and to meet on territory protected by the dish with one spoon wampum. The enduring presence and deep traditional knowledge of First Peoples are foundational to the arts and culture of this place. We are committed to supporting local creators by acknowledging the collective past and respecting the contributions of all peoples. Board members Deb Knepper and Emma Campbell are with me tonight, as well as our social media coordinator, Grace Scheel. And thanks to our generous partners, the Cambridge Art Galleries. Shout out to our colleague, Alix Vaz, who's the director of the Cambridge Art Galleries and the Arts Fund board member. So we're excited to be with you tonight. We're here really to orient you to the Arts Fund. The deadline for submitting an application to our spring round is May the 5th, so a few weeks away. And we want to share some important changes we're making to our funding process. The outline for the hour is very simple. Lindsay and Grace will do a presentation, and that is recorded. That's part of what we're doing now. After the presentation is over, we will stop recording and open up to Q&A. If you have any questions while the presentation is going on, please just use the Q&A function and we can take up your questions when the time comes. So we'll group them all together at the end, and that'll make it easy for us to converse back and forth and deal with your issues. You'll be able to review the recording of this webinar on our YouTube channel. Over to you, Lindsay.
Thanks so much, Susan. So as Susan mentioned, I'm the co-chair. And we're excited to have everyone here today. And today is really, as Susan said, really to get an understanding of what we're doing here at the Arts Fund, but more importantly is to orient you to some of the new changes, and really for those that have never applied to the Arts Fund, maybe this is your first time, just to give you a good understanding of how to put in a solid application and to answer any questions that you might have. So going to go through a presentation here today, and hopefully we can answer your questions at the end of the presentation. So just to give you some context for where we are in the fund. So the Region Waterloo Arts Fund was established in 2002. So we're in year 21 of this fund. We fund approximately $383,000 a year. And that's given to us by the region, so by the municipality. And we support local project-based arts grants. So no operating funds, just our project grants for our local artists. And since 2002, we've awarded over $5 million in funds to 943 different projects. So we converted to an online application system a few years ago. So for those of you that have applied before, you remember your reams of paper that you were stapling and driving over to 150 Frederick. So we've happily eliminated that, happily for our artists, happily for our board members, so that you can log on, fill out your application at your own pace, and you can also go back and see previous applications, and you can communicate with us as the funder through your portal. So for our spring deadline, as Susan mentioned, it's May 5th. For our fall deadline, we're looking at October 13th. So all applications are submitted online via our online portal. If you're having an accessibility issue, or if there's some reason why this is not going to work for you, we really encourage you to contact the Arts Fund at info@artsfund.ca and start that conversation with us so we can make sure that your application is still received. Okay, otherwise you can log in, create a profile, and start your application. And you can get the link to the portal on artsfund.ca, and it's right on the homepage. Scroll down and there's a big maroon square for you to submit there. So we just wanted to talk a little bit about criteria and what that looks like when we're grading or when we're scoring the application. So we'll go through how we do the adjudication. But when you submit an application, when the peer reviewers are looking at it, they're going to be looking at these three specific criteria. So the first is your artistic vision. So when we're looking at an application, we want to make sure that the vision is articulated and it's clear, and it includes how it fits into your existing body of work. And so there's two important points here. We want to be able to read it and clearly understand what your vision is. The second part is if you are experimenting and if you're trying something new, be very clear about that. We're okay with experimenting, we're okay with new. We just want to make sure that we understand that when you're applying. So if you're a visual artist and you're trying out a new medium, let us know. That's okay with us. That's fine. We'll fund something like that, but just make it clear and how it's going to support your current body of work and your current professional growth. So let us know all those details. And from my experience with the board members and reading applications, they want to learn about those things. So let us know and share your story and how you see your growth as an artist. For impact and engagement, this is where we're talking about how it might impact the community, how it might impact your professional growth, and how it might impact other artists engaging with your project. So not all of these situations will fit into every application. So this is why there's a few different options here. So it should always contribute to your professional growth and your development as an artist in the region. So that's something we're definitely going to be looking for. So have you done a similar project over and over? And if you have, how does this help you grow as an artist? Let us know. Does it engage the community? So you could look at it from a number of different lenses. So is this engagement with the community, meaning this is going to have a wide audience, there's going to be a number of shows, a number of displays. Is that something that you're going to be doing? Or are you engaging the community actively in your art? So are they participating in the art making? So that's something as well that we're interested in. Does it have any benefits to other local artists, your own community, or the community at large? So this is about your own growth, but in addition to that, how it could affect the community. And the reason why it's not just limited to professional growth or community is that we do understand that some projects are going to have a stronger impact and virtually zero impact on the community, depending on what it is. So if you're writing the first draft of a novel, we understand that that often means being in your house or your favorite spot alone for hours on end writing. And we know that you're not going to be engaging the community in that exercise for most projects or for some projects. Same if you're trying a different medium, visual arts, we understand. You might be, again, in your studio, you're trying different things. So you're not going to be engaging the community. You're not going to have a large exhibition. You might not be having, for theater productions, you might not have an audience. This is a small workshop with a few of your colleagues. That's all fine. So you just clarify that in your application. There are no marks deducted if community is not engaged, if it makes sense for that project. Okay. So viability. So this is when we're talking about, this is where the budget comes in. And remember, we can always answer questions prior to your application being submitted. So if budgets are challenging, or if anything in the budget template is unclear, please feel free to reach out at our email, info@artsfund.ca, and we'd be happy to answer the question for you. But your work plan and your budget should mirror each other. So if you're talking about a large social media campaign, we should be able to see that in your budget. If you're talking about engaging a number of artists in the community, we should be able to see the artist fees reflected in your budget as well. So just remember that those two should run parallel, and ask for the money that you need. We will go into limits on different types of applications, but please ask for the money you need. money, marks aren't deducted for people for asking for too much. But if we're looking at your application and we notice that artist fees aren't being paid, or if there's things that are missing, then those will turn up as red flags in our budget. So we do want to make sure that artists contributing to the project are paid. We want to make sure that there's a realistic plan to obtain other funds. We appreciate when there's other funds being drawn upon, or there's effort being made to solicit other funds. And it's okay if there's no commitment yet. If you've applied to the OAC and they haven't said yes, or the Community Foundation, they haven't said yes yet. You can identify what your plan is. You can put it in, Community Foundation, you plan on asking them for $2,000, and you can even put in brackets unconfirmed. Okay, so we see that a lot, and that's okay. It just demonstrates to us that those are the ways that you're looking for funds. And then we want to see that the capacity to complete the project is evident. So this isn't necessarily a budget related criteria, but more so, have you demonstrated in your question about who you are and your projection as an artist in the community, that you do have this capacity, or how to get this project done. Okay, and that can be demonstrated in a number of different ways, collaborating with others, or just demonstrating your track record. And there's opportunities to show your artwork, show everything that you've kind of created. There's a number of opportunities to send attachments within the application as well. So I encourage you to do that. I certainly know when our board members were reviewing applications, that's something that they really enjoy doing, was taking a look at the supplementary materials. So I'm just going to get into some of the changes that we've experienced over the past year, and what is being changed for our spring 2023 application. So in 2021, we began the process to try to understand what would it look like if the Arts Fund were more equitable and accessible to all of our residents, to all of our artists in the region of Waterloo. And so we hired a consultant. We went through a few processes. And then we got together an advisory committee of racialized artists in the community to try to advise on some of our processes that we had in place, and what changes can we make to the Arts Fund to work towards it to be more equitable for our artists. There are 2 reports on our website that you can take a look and read through in full. We've posted the full versions on our website, but these are just highlighting some of the application changes that you will see in the grant, in the application this year. So we do have a focus on where art starts. So we're looking at celebrating local and beginnings. Okay, so our local artists, of course, because that's who's eligible for our funds, but also looking at artists who are just getting started, who we'd consider our emerging artists. So we are welcome and opening to artists that are trying to do something different. They're experimenting or exploring new processes. We want to make it clear that that's okay, and that's something that we encourage, and something that we've certainly funded in the past. Artists that are just starting out, so our emerging artists, so that could be recent graduates, or it could be an artist that is really taking their artistic practice to a new level, and seeking funding to potentially take this professional. And then potentially our artists are forging new collaborations. So maybe it's a group of artists that are getting together to do something new, to do something different in the community, and to trial a project for the first time. So those are all things that we are encouraging, but we of course are also funding our established artists. So that also hasn't changed, but rather than our former tagline, we're now looking at where art starts. So we're looking at 2 funding streams. And so when you log into your application and you fill out your information, you're going to notice a question to identify yourself. The first one will be as either an organization, an artist, or collective. So organization and artists are fairly straightforward. Organization would actually mean a registered nonprofit. registered charity. Okay, so those are actual registered organizations versus a collective where that might be a few local artists getting together for the purpose of this grant, or a few artists that have already been in a collective and that want to apply to a grant together. And then that collective organization or artist would also identify themselves as emerging or established. So emerging would be defined as under 5 years of experience, and established being more than 5 years, 5 or more years experience. When it comes to the collective, we're going to look at the age of the collective, not the individual people in the collective. So if it's a brand new collective that has never been together before, and we would consider that an emerging collective, even if those that are on the collective each have more than 5 years experience. Okay. And the organization, it's as long as it's existed. So as long as it's been that nonprofit, and artists, it would be how long you have been a practicing artist for. Some artists have not